Believe it or not, good games are still good despite their age. This is how Nintendo can get away with selling a remake of a GameCube game for $60. That's because Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door is still incredible 20 years later. I mean, what more could you ask for? The combat is fun. Mario can use his jump to break up his attack into 2 smaller attacks or use his hammer for 1 bigger attack. In order to get the most damage out of his attacks, the player has to complete quick action commands, which will make sure the player is paying attention. On top of this, items can be used, and these can range from healing the team, doing damage to the opponents, or other fun stuff. On top of this, Mario has 7 allies that he can use in battle. All these allies come decked out with their own health stat and 4 moves. Each partner can be upgraded twice by using 3 shine sprites each. These will also raise their damage that the partners can do, as well as their total health. It's a lot of fun mixing the partners, finding out their strengths and weaknesses. They all feel super different from one another in the battlefield. They also have abilities that can be used in the overworld as well. Flower Points, or FP, will enable Mario and his allies to use stronger attacks. Some of these get mad expensive, like Emilio Bobberry's Bob Obis requires 9 Flower Points. Usually these moves will either do more damage, attack multiple targets, or have other strong effects. Like Goombella's Rally Wink will give Mario another turn to move. This is a very strong attack, and it's definitely worth the 4 Flower Points. On top of that, badges are what truly make this game fun. When Mario gets the Ultra Boots and Hammer, they will usually do 6 damage. However, after putting on All or Nothing, P up, P down, and a couple of power pluses, my jump was doing, wait for it, 16 damage. There are 86 badges and their effects vary wildly. I love mixing up badges, coming up with new strategies. It's just a lot of fun. Every time 100 star points are earned, which is this game's version of experience points, Mario will level up. He can either gain 5 HP, 5 FP, or 3 badge points. Always go for badge points. In fact, I hit the 99 badge points limit before deciding to make this video. On top of this, the stage will go bigger too. It starts at only 50 audience members, but it will balloon to 200 by the time Mario reaches superstar status. These guys can throw both helpful and harmful items at the player. They will also give Mario star power. Speaking of that, there are 8 special moves that Mario can use. These will require star power, and one will be given to him in the prologue, with each additional one being rewarded when the player gets a crystal star. These will either heal the group, raise their stats, do massive damage to their enemies, or stun their enemies. If the player knows what they're doing, they can do stylish moves to increase the star power given by the crowd. There's certainly a decent bit going on under the hood, but it's still pretty accessible. That's probably the game's biggest strength. You can absolutely break this game if you know what you're doing, but it's still fun in a casual sense. This is one of those rare games where there's enough under the hood for challenges and enthusiasts, while still being simple enough for the average person. Enough of the basics though, what does this remake actually add? Well, the biggest thing here is the graphics, of course. The game is now simply gorgeous. The lighting and reflections in particular are killer. It all just looks amazing. They went through the effort of adding new animations for everyone too. My favorite thing to do is just hit everyone with my hammer. It didn't do anything in the original, so it's nice to see this added and just mess around with it. It's not just the visuals that got touched up though. The soundtrack did too, and it's simply incredible. It's orchestrated this time around, and it just sounds beautiful. There's something amazing about hearing those trumpets blazing in the Rogueport theme. Usually when games remake soundtracks, like say Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I usually find myself preferring the original soundtrack. Not here though. These new tracks absolutely slap. And on top of that, there's a badge to turn on the original music anyway. This is simply a win-win. The backtracking was honestly a pain in the ass in the original. Even diehard fans can mostly agree to this. Some chapters, 2, 4, 5, and 7 in particular, are weighted down by just all the back and forth, man. Well, chapters 4 and 7, arguably the 2 biggest offenders, were toned down significantly. In chapter 4 in particular, a pipe leads right from the chapel to Twilight Town. Since you already have to go back and forth in the forest once after Doopliss takes your body, you still get that isolation feeling that everyone loves to talk about, but it doesn't quite go overboard like it did in the original. There's also some new postgame content. Obviously spoilers here, but I put that in the title anyway. Once you beat the game and do Jolene's quest, you can battle Prince Mush. Apparently this guy was planned to be in the original, but was cut. This guy is simply insane, and is capable of doing damage by the dozens. The only way to kill him is by using a super guard, which will break his stance. This will allow Mario to go in for the kill. This is a cool idea for a boss fight, and it took me a couple of tries. The other one is much more humorous. Remember that cute little Wacka and Keyhole Key? Well, after you hit him enough times, he will disappear. After this, a player will need to beat Bonetail in the Pit of 100 Trials and wait a little while. They will get an email titled RDM Extra Issue, which will state that there's a new creature found at the bottom of the pit. Once you trek down there again, this little guy will be down here waiting for you. Every time he's attacked, he'll drop a Whack-A-Bump. He will then use these Whack-A-Bumps to chuck at the player, doing massive damage. Here, you can watch Waffle get utterly destroyed. After beating him, the game will reward the player with a gold Whack-A-Bump, which unfortunately cannot be eaten. Power Bounce has been nerfed significantly. The 4th input has a 1-frame window instead of 5. That's why it seems so much harder to hit. However, and I may sound crazy here, I actually like this. In the GameCube version, I would simply just Power Bounce every single boss to death, because I could hit it so consistently. but now I gotta come up with new strategies. Although admittedly, Power Lift was my saving grace here, I never realized how good that special was. There are a lot of other smaller changes too, like the partner ring. It's nice to be able to just change partners right on the fly. It's so quick. I also like the characterization of the text boxes. It's reminiscent of Banjo-Kazooie. If one wants a full list of changes, they can of course head over to the Mario Wiki. Most of the changes made are nice. However, as much as I love this game and the remake, some things definitely annoy me. Honestly, the biggest thing is probably just the overall flow and pacing of the game. For example, you cannot make text go faster. For the first time through, this isn't the biggest issue, but I fear that I may just go back to the GameCube version for replays. Speaking of dialogue, there's no way to go back and reread lines like in the GameCube version. That just seems like such an odd thing to get rid of. Another weird thing that really slows the game down is just the star power. You know, the stuff that the crowd gives to Mario when he performs attacks. For whatever reason, it takes forever to be collected in this version. The opponents will not move until all star power has been collected. It's just a bit slow and awkward, and the original game, it simply moved a lot faster. This goes for the level up screen as well. I mean, you're going to be a pretty high level if you beat the game, so having to sit there for like 10 to 15 seconds every single time is such a weird and annoying oversight. These things could easily be fixed with a simple patch too, but we all know Nintendo won't do that. I know it's been talked to death too, but the 30 FPS is kind of unfortunate. It's not a deal breaker, but I am annoyed by everyone saying that there's no difference. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that others can't. It makes the game just feel a bit sluggish. Combine the 30 FPS with the slower dialogue and the star power issue, it just makes the game feel like it's running a bit slower than the original. Again, not the biggest issue, but I actually noticed a difference in how the game ran. If we're talking about some of my issues with the original game, the backtracking and overall level design can definitely be pretty annoying. These have been altered in a good way in the remake, but one could argue that more work could have been done. Like, the Poonie chapter is still kind of a back and forth affair. The beginning of chapter 5, that could kick rocks too. Not the end of the world. But again, combining this with the 30 FPS and the text issue, the game can just be kinda slow at times. I always found the Bowser sections to be, I guess underwhelming is a good word. I can appreciate how he's not the main villain of the game, but it still feels like he should have had a bigger role. Instead, he's just kinda comedic relief. He can be funny for sure, but likewise, with the Peach missions, I just don't care for these too much. I guess to play devil's advocate, I've seen some people say they're a nice break from Mario. I guess that's a fair argument, but personally, whenever I'm these two, all I can think about is, can I just be Mario again? I think I'll leave it there for now. I want to do a full-on review of this game. This means that I want to do a 100% run. Some of the recipes and help center stuff, these take a while though, and I want to get a video out relatively soon. Just cause algorithm and stuff. Some Nintendo fans to this day still say that Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door is one of the company's very best games. I was honestly in the camp that this game may be a tad bit overrated before replaying this game. After beating it again though, I still love this game. It sincerely might be up there with Nintendo's best. Sure, some of the backtracking is still annoying, and the pacing can suffer, but when this game is good, it's great. I love the Thousand Year Door, and I can't wait to 100% it.